Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say hello and welcome to another fascinating edition of the program ASHFORD GARLEY Live on British Radio Africa. Today is May 12th, 2023. My life in America started 24 years ago on this day in Philadelphia. 24 years later, we are still laughing, kicking, doing what we love to do. And as always, folks, Father God, want to give you praise, want to magnify your name. Blessed be your holy name forever. Father, we are grateful to you. You woke us up this morning. We can walk, we can talk. There were times where we couldn't walk and talk. We regain our speech. We regain our mobility. With that, we want to say thank you, Lord. In the name of Jesus, we've given thanks. Well, folks, today is Friday. This is when we loosen up a little bit. Our special guest is already in studio. But just before then, folks, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, please leave my country alone. You had your first term, your second term. We're in your third term now, at the end of your third term, and you still won't force the ball on us. Madam Sirleaf, please leave our country alone. Madam Sirleaf is fighting us on two fronts. The first front is through herself and money that she stole from our country. And the second front is using her son to sleep with other men in exchange for jobs. This is ungodly. This is not healthy for our country. You can buy everybody, but there are certain people that you can't buy. There are certain people that stand for something. We got a poor man lawyer, and you got a poor man journalist too. Mark this day, May 12, 2023. I am preparing myself to go back to what we can say Representative Garley, what we can say Senator Garley. You think we don't love our country too? Joseph Human Boycott. You surprised me. Where is the change? You were in bed with Prince Johnson. You were in bed with Edwin Snow. You were in bed with Corruption King Kong. Ellis Tyler now is on your team to be senator in Bombay. Where is the change? I don't blame Henry Costa. In fact, where does Costa start from again to support you? After Costa went after the Cummins and others and accused them of being supported by ex-rebels. And Prince Johnson, who is the godfather of all killers, is now the person you have surrendered yourself with, all because you're so desperate for power. When they said Tyrone Gonglo is here, he said, oh, that meant too clean. But I thought we need clean people to straighten up this country. Folks, we're in trouble. Liberia needs help. How can we help this country? We will not be quiet. When you hear Jeremiah Kuhn saying, I am my own man, that's a lie. He's not his own man. Before JMB announced Jeremiah Kuhn, Prince Johnson already announced Jeremiah Kuhn, as we're listening in this video. Listen to Prince Johnson.
I want to let a cat out of the bed right now.
We should wait for Friday.
But you wait for Friday. And Rescue 2 will be from Nimba. You know, I've contested election twice to be president. I wouldn't say they cheated, even though I got 2 votes in my church. But I would say, whatever you want to do in life, and it's not in God's plan, you cannot succeed. So I didn't succeed the 2 elections I was involved in. So now, as I'm growing older and older, the older you grow, the closer you are to your.
And you want us to believe that you are your own man. Had it not been for the intervention of Prince Johnson, you think Joseph Walker would have selected Jeremiah Cohn? There are names out there. The Gonglo, the Kanga Lawrence, and others with impeccable credentials. But because of desperation, I hear somebody say, the old man said, well, if sleeping with the devil will make me president, then I'd rather sleep with the devil. Who will prosecute these people? Will we ever see justice? My question to you tonight, we killed 13 people in the name of rampant corruption. When Doe took over, the country became more corrupt than the people we killed. Doe is dead today, but Prince Johnson is known for pay to play. He takes money for politicians in exchange that you give them support. George Weah gained his wealth from soccer. He squandered his money because of mental instability. He regained his wealth at the expense of Liberia and the poor Liberian people. And this is what we get in return. Our country needs help. Welcome to the show. Joel Dennis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, boss. How are you?
Good. I'm better than good, my brother.
How's my fellow panelists? Counselor, good to see you on the show tonight.
Thank you.
Pastor Added, Dr. James, good to see everybody. Welcome, viewers. Tonight we should have some good talk tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Idatu Sade, please unmute your mic. Welcome to the show.
Greetings to this esteemed counselor and political aspirant, Honorable Tiawan Gonglo. Greetings to all of you wonderful panelists. Greetings to my Liberian brothers and sisters who are ardently watching as we discuss the greater good for Liberia. God bless you.
Dr. James T. Fisk.
My greetings to everyone in viewer land and also in listening land as well. Greetings to you, Ashford, and my fellow panelists. And of course, I want to extend my heartfelt greetings to the guest who has decided to take time off his business schedule to come and chit chat about the future of Liberia. I hope we have yet another explosive edition of these interactions. Thank you.
Mrs. Letty Brooks Roberts will not be in tonight. Her twin daughters graduated from college today, so she's very busy with the graduation program. Well, I want to take this time to say welcome to Councillor Tiawan Gonglo, the man who could be the next president of Liberia following the elections on October the 10th. What are you on? Talk where you?
Oh.
Welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you, Bob. I hear you playing African music. Why don't you play The People Fool Us by Takun J?
Okay. We'll play that as the program progresses. That's a suggestion.
Yes. Because that record was made under President Selly, but it also fits his administration. The people fool us, they lie to us.
Okay, I will give you time to give us your opening statement as we begin this program tonight.
I'm happy to be here tonight. Let me say this is my 4th
platform for the day. I've been on KMTV, I've been on Costa, Spoon, and I'm ending with you this evening. But I'm never tired to speak about Liberia. We have a collective responsibility to free our country from backwardness. And for those of us who live in Liberia, the only way some of us can maintain our sanity is to begin to do something about the situation that we are in, because otherwise you can become insane without knowing. It's a terrible situation. We have a situation of ignorance, arrogance, and greed all combined, and it's just making our country to go backwards with high speed. We have to stop that.
Thank you, Council. And tonight, I'm going to play a more laid-back role as my panelists interact with you. I've had enough of you in terms of what you've done and continue to do, not only for Liberia, but for Liberians as well. So before we begin, let us play, as per your request, the Fool Us, the Lie to Us songs, a song that you thought was actually meant for this government, even though the singer of this song supports this government. So let's take a listen to a few bars of this song.
My people, where you at? Where you at? Wake up from your slumber, stop sleeping. Whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your. Come on, come on, come on. I know y'all sleeping now. Y'all gotta whip up some more, yeah? Okay, let's go. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. I said, they lie. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They get lies, they get steals. I said, we tired with their lies. We tired with their promises that led us to a lot of damages.
And that's the voice of Takun J with the song "The Lie to Us, The Fool Us." And let me begin with Joel Dennett. The council is here, and he's ready to take on us tonight. Like he regularly said, he had 4 shows today, and he's closing out on the bridge. You know, you can't get to your destination without crossing the bridge. So he's at the bridge tonight. So,
Yes.
Mr. Dennis?
Counselor, again, good evening, and it's a pleasure to be talking to you and meet you. I know you're running for president of Liberia, and I mean, in my opinion, I would like to see somebody of your caliber take office. I personally am not in the business to reward bad behavior and bad governance. However, saying that, I think the Liberian people right now would be taking a risk, regardless of who is elected in Liberia. So if you don't mind, just kind of give me a little bit of how you think you can, in your first couple of years as President Gonglo, how would you be able to resurrect this dead economy in Liberia?
Okay, so the first thing, we have to have rule of law. That's the foundation for everything, to create the atmosphere for sustaining the peace and for people to feel safe. Our police has to work, and we have to strengthen the police to work. Today in Liberia, there's selective application of the law, which is controlled, stimulated, and influenced by those in the top echelon of government. When the police even tries to do its work, you get called as my interest. We can't have a country like that. In this country, when a senator commits a travel offense, he gets the same ticket that a janitor gets. That is what they call rule of law. And in the first 100 days of my administration, I will issue an executive order that any top official of government that undermines, obstructs, or influences police operation in a manner will be dismissed immediately. and even prosecuted for obstruction of government function. We'll put in that executive order that giving the George Floyd situation that the people of Liberia have a right to monitor policing, and therefore people have a right to videotape police in its operation, just so that they can remain professional. We need to do that. There can be no economic activity, successful economic activity in a lawless society that Liberia has become. We have to do that. The next thing we need to do is everybody in the government, including the president, asset declaration is by law, but I'm going to introduce something else. To make the president's salary and benefits and the salaries and benefits of all the people in the 3 branches of government put it on the internet so that the public can monitor our expenditure pattern. Because if I appoint Joel Dennis as minister and his annual salary is not even $50,000, but in 3 months he's building a $500,000 house, the people in the community should know that he's stealing just by checking their phone. And then, as soon as that gets to my knowledge, because people will be calling on the radio and talking about it, you'll be dismissed immediately and sent over to the Liberian Anti-Corruption Commission for further investigation and prosecution. If you're found guilty, you'll go to jail for 5 to 10 years. All of your property, including the money that you illegally acquire, will be confiscated through the legal process.
I'll hold you right there, Counsel. The next question, Joel.
Why do you think the because listen, for me, your character, what you've represented over your life, is very impressive. I've admired you for a very long time. But why do you think, in this current situation, your candidacy is not getting as much time as Joseph Boyka or even ANC? What do you think is the reason for that?
Oh, well, they were there before. They contested in 2017, and they got some following. I'm a new aspirant. I still consider myself underdog. That is why I'm working harder than all of them. I've gone to over 300 towns in Liberia because I strongly believe that you want power from the people, you have to respect them by going to them, seeing their conditions and telling them what you want to do with the power that you want from them. Not only to stay in Monrovia and the capital of the counties. So I've gone. I've done something that never happened in Liberian history. There's no presidential aspirant that's ever gone to even 50 towns in Liberian history. I've gone to over 300. I'm still counting. And I've learned a lot. It's put me in a position to have empathy, to be concerned, and to find effective solutions to the problems of the people, because I experienced, for example, bad roads. And growing up in Tapata in the late 60s and 70s, I kind of remember that President Tubman had the way to deal with bad roads. He put polywash stations along the road in Ganta, in Peto, in Tapata, in Total, in Kanweke, in Plibo. And these polywash stations had yellow machines that maintained the roads throughout the year, especially beginning during the dry season when the roads were destroyed during the rainy season. Gutters were cut to the extent that during the rainy season, the water flowed easily and the roads kept dry. So in 1976.
And Counsel, I think that's a fair answer. They started before you, but now you are catching up. You're going to over 300 towns and villages in every part of Liberia. I think that's very good. That's a good goal. And you are interacting with the people. Let us go to the Reverend Idatu Zade.
Welcome again, Councillor Gongo. Greetings.
Thank you.
I actually enjoyed you on Spoon TV today. I have a question for you. For my education, as a lawyer, Councillor Gongo, are crimes transferable?
No. Guilt by association is not legal.
Thank you. So there are those who are saying that because, Councillor, because Jeremiah Kuhn is a member of Prince Johnson's party. Therefore, he's a puppeteer of Prince Johnson. Do you ascribe to that politics?
Being a puppeteer is not a crime. It is a relationship issue that could affect policies and how other countries look at you. There is a clear American policy that is being, well, law that is being implemented against people in other countries. And Liberia has had a situation where we have 5 persons who have been sanctioned. There's a clear notice from the American government that was published by the ambassador in Monrovia. Let me say, from what I know about American government, when the ambassador speaks, it's the White House that is speaking, because before they issue a statement, that statement is clear by State Department, clear by White House. The ambassador is ambassador plenipotentiary, represents the president. When he gives you a clear notice that if you do business with a sanctioned person, there will be consequences, and you go against that, that is considered as defiance. And history has shown that the United States government does not take defiance lightly.
Right. So, having said that, the U.S. ambassador painstakingly made it very clear that this sanction is not against the country or the government; it's against individuals. Knowing the U.S. government believes in democracy, MDR is an institution who happens to now have a political leader. Certainly, you do not believe in guilt by association, and you just told the whole world that crimes aren't transferable. So, if that is the case, and the U.S. government wants to prosecute crime on behalf of Liberians, war crimes, they've sent their representative there. And you certainly work for Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who you stated today on record that you expected that she would confess, at least in the context of reconciliation, about her role in the government. But you work with her. And we all know, as Liberians, not because she's not been convicted of war crime, she stated clearly on BBC, let's burn the mansion where we built it. She stated in her book that she supported financially the government, but you work for her. Is that fair for anyone to associate you with the fact that you work for a former war sponsor, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who, of course, through her government, you collaborated with the arrest of Charles Taylor? Please respond to that, sir.
You see, you got to. I've already answered the question that crime is not transferable, right? And so I don't know why you're going down that line. But I also explained that when you do business with a sanctioned person, it's different, right? If you do business with a sanctioned person, it has nothing to do with association. It is doing business with a sanctioned person. For you both to make a decision together, that can have consequences. Look, Noriega, Panama was not sanctioned per se, but Noriega didn't even kill an American. He just said the borders of our enemies will be seen flowing on the Panama Canal. I was here in 1990, and the United States government, the President of the United States, arrested Noriega using the War Powers Act of the United States Constitution. I was at Columbia University doing human rights advocacy. I remember George Ipso Fair and Louis Hankin arguing. One person saying the War Powers Act was not violated, and another person saying it was violated. Just a statement was taken seriously by the United States government. Now, when they tell you do not do business, and you openly do business with that person, I think, and then they say there will be consequences. I think I wouldn't do business with anybody who is sanctioned.
And I hold you right there. That was the last question.
Yeah, my final question. Well, Councillor Gongo, I'm finding it a bit difficult as a stretch of the law, because the American ambassador knows that Prince Johnson is still collaborating or doing business in the current government he's working in. Why haven't they sanctioned this entire government as an institution of which Prince Johnson is a part of? Isn't that a contradiction in the context of international law and the Manesky Act, which the U.S. ambassador clarified? Is it because of politics? You're trying to stretch the law or not? Please clarify.
No, listen to me. They didn't sanction all of the 5 persons at the same time. So There's no statute of limitation right now on that. You don't know whether there will be sanctions. You don't know. So it's not in the past yet.
Thank
Right,
you.
but then why make the assumption that then why haven't they sanctioned the entire government? Why would the ambassador say the government is not under sanction? It's a targeted sanction. But you're saying this targeted sanction by association. If Jeremiah Kuhn is associated with Prince Johnson, then he's guilty. Then he's guilty by association. But Prince Johnson is also
Okay,
associating with the government, but he is not. But the
so
government is not guilty by association.
so
I find
Mr.
that
Ade,
contradicting.
Mr. Ade, I think
Uh-huh.
it should not be a dialogue between us. You have given your view, you've asked a question and answer, and you're not satisfied
Okay.
with the answer, it's left with the public, right?
Thank you,
Every
Council.
action that we take, there are consequences, and we
Fair
should be
enough.
able to live with the consequences.
Thank you, Council.
Fair enough.
Let me bring in
Thank you.
Dr. James to you first.
How are you, Councillor? And welcome again. As a disclaimer, I, I met with the councillor at some point way back when on the old road. We had some very long discussion
A long
and the rest
time.
of it. And yeah, it's been a long time. So let me just put that disclaimer out there, okay, that we've been friends in the past. Councillor, when you spoke during your introduction, you sounded more like a justice minister aspirant rather than a president, because you only um, talked about what Ellen would have referred to as security sector reform. In other words, trying to make sure that the police is a little more effective and the issue of corruption to some extent limited to activities of government are curtailed. Um, are you saying in your introduction that the most concerning issue relating to Liberia right now is not, for instance, joblessness in that country? Rather, you think is issues of security? Help us understand.
Okay, so if you don't have uh, an, the rule of law institutionalized and effective, who will want to invest in your country that is lawless? Rule of law includes police, includes the court system, you know. Um, and when people know that the investment will be protected, they will come and invest and create jobs. Government cannot create jobs, enough jobs for everyone. So we need that secure environment. But when you hear about mysterious deaths, when you hear about police can't enforce the law, police is taking money, uh, law enforcement is just weak. You see a threat from entering the country, then people are not encouraged to invest.
Can I
Joblessness,
just come in?
job,
Mhm.
yeah, come in.
Okay. You said something very important right now, which has been uh, an ongoing debate on Bridge Radio. Okay. There is one school of thought that I support, which is that government is able to create public sector jobs. It doesn't have to be in ministries. It can be in agro industry. Government could set up something like a ministry of industries that will basically focus on making sure that, because right now the greatest problem facing Liberia is joblessness. To create jobs, so you now, instead of going to look for international people to come and invest in Liberia because they go into extractive industries, government can in fact open factories that will incentivize Liberian farmers and will be able, and if you do the calculation, you are looking at something in the tune of $500 million on an annual basis, which means over 10
Okay,
that
so
period.
so
That's like 5 billion, and maybe I may be doing the math wrong, but you're talking about billions. No, I'm coming now. Let me ask the question. So help us understand, because you just said that government is not in the business of creating jobs. Where did you read that? Help us understand, because I would think the essence of government is to be able to do whatever it takes in the interest of its people. So help us understand that what you just said.
all right. So government is unable to create all of the jobs that people want in the public sector. Look, the other thing, so I was talking about fighting rule of law and fighting corruption. If you don't fight corruption,
I never said
even
government can create all the jobs. I never said all.
okay,
Most
all
of the
right,
jobs, not all. Most.
all right, okay. So We have public corporations in Liberia, and over the years, it's been shown that there is enormous corruption in the public corporations. If we don't work on our rule of law system and combat corruption effectively, none of those ideas will work for the country, because people will use what you're talking about to fill their pockets, be more corrupt, and deny access to the benefit from those kinds of actions from the majority of the people. That is the situation in the country. And so we have to strengthen the rule of law, effectively fight corruption, and that is why I carry the broom around. I usually say, and it's all my sticker, that government is a place to serve, not to steal. That is just a major impediment in our country. We have to fix that before we go forward. I have economic plan to create
Can I ask
jobs,
a second question?
but I put these things ahead because I live in Liberia. I've studied Liberian history. I've been in the system. I've been a critic of government. When you are a critic, you study more. That every government has talked about fighting corruption, but there has not been any clear prescription. I have a 12-count prescription for combating corruption that begins with open as president's
Can I
salary.
ask my next question?
Go ahead.
Okay, fine. So what you talked about, it sounds like when Ellen came to power and she thought that the major issue was reconciliation. Yet it's still up until now the issue of trying to incorporate Congo people as a 17th tribe is something that people are afraid of to talk about. Okay, so we can understand that this whole thing about reconciliation, all those things are less important. They all take backseat to corruption, to creating jobs for a country that is over 50% unemployed. However, let me ask this question, and this will be my last question. Help us understand, what is it that's been presented by Mr. Boakai, that's been presented by Mr. Cummings, that is different and impossible for you to work with to an extent that you think that you should rather present yourself as a presidential candidate? Help us understand, what do they lack that you have?
I don't know what they have presented. You have to tell me what they've presented.
Oh, they have a platform. They have a platform. All of them have platforms. Haven't you read it as an aspirant? These are people that you have to politically combat. So you should have read the platform. So help us understand. Is there something different that is there something? No, I'm not. I don't represent ANC or Boakai, any one of them. But is this something you're supposed to be on top of your game? So help us understand, what do they present that disqualifies them from you joining and working with them? What is different from that you present than what they have that shows that they lack and that you have something better to offer? Help us understand.
Okay, so it's not what I've heard from Joseph Boakai is think Liberia, love Liberia, be Liberia. I don't understand that. There's no details on that makes me to understand it. I've heard from Cummings, if you do something the same way, you get the same result. I don't understand that. I have a 10-point agenda for better Liberia that clearly states what I want. 10 counts. You can see it. And then
Can you tell us the 10 counts? That's just 10. A synopsis. That's just 10.
That would be a long explanation, but I can tell you about the 4 major ones that I've carried all over the country. Okay. One, in the health sector, from studies showing that pregnant women die a lot, children under the age of 5 die a lot in our country. Old people die because we don't have social security for everyone. Not everybody has work history. So I have it in my plan that pregnant women, children under the age of 5, and all old Liberians 65 years or up will go to government hospital and clinics free of charge. And that I myself, as president, will subject myself to I will go to the medical, I'll pay surprise visits to clinics and hospitals for medical checkup. And if they are not up to the tax, people will be dismissed and punished for that, to account for things that government put in the budget and put in the clinics and hospitals. And that children will go to school from kindergarten to 12th grade free of charge, with government providing textbooks, pencils, pens, the food they eat, and everything. That the roads of Liberia will be maintained. It's going to take us 50 years to pave all the roads in Liberia. But at least we can put public work yards in all of the counties, or have about 4 major hubs with yellow machines to constantly maintain the roads so that people can move freely. It was difficult for me to travel to the over 300 towns that I've been to. Even between Kilipo Kanweke and Gwipo Kanweke, that is normally 30 minutes. It took me, I left Kilipo Kanweke at 5 o'clock and reached Gwipo Kanweke at 1 a.m. in the morning. All the people are gone to bed. I had to do my event the next day. If you have a country like that, there's no way you can alleviate poverty, because people can move goods easily. There's no way people can go to hospitals easily if you have even good hospitals and you want ambulances to move people from one location to another. So it is a death trap, and it also promotes poverty. So we have that. And I also talk about changing Liberia's story from being a rice importer to rice exporter. We have rich soil, but government needs to help farmers to produce more rice in our country. And I say I will introduce mechanized farming by buying machines and distributing them among the farmers through the farmers cooperatives.
Thank you, Mr. Gonglo. And all of that take backseat to you first and foremost using maybe 1 or 2 years of your administration to make sure that people abide by the law. Okay, thank you. Ashford,
Well, Council, I want to again say thank you for taking the time. Folks, if you just joining us, this is ASHFORD GARLEY Live on British Radio Africa. This program comes your way Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays on YouTube and Facebook. Council, you traveled out of Liberia. It hurts to see our president, since taking over as president of this country, flies private jet. Not once have seen this president flown commercial since he became president. Now we're hearing the speaker, the president pro tem, they will fly into the Ivory Coast and then come by road to visit the Southeast. You talk about connecting the entire country. You talk about stations in other parts of the country by public works. How will you do this? Where would you get the money from?
Thank you.
Look, the way the government spends money does not show to anyone that we don't have money. The money is spent on politicians. And, so the money is not spent on getting the work done. For example, do your research. Last year, the president pro tem of the Liberian Senate earned a salary of $254,000. The president pro tem of the American Senate earned $193,000. A difference about over $60,000. It is scandalous. How come a begging nation president pro tem will make higher than a donor nation? I think all the American citizens were to know that that kind of thing is happening in our country. They will not allow the government to aid us, to give us assistance. Same thing with the speaker. The speaker of the Liberian House of Representatives earned $254,000 last year. The speaker of the American House of Representatives earned $223,000 last year. And that flows in other areas. Ministers, we don't know their salaries. The president, all of these. If, and my plan is to reduce the salaries of the politicians, give good salaries to teachers, nurses, the law enforcement officers, and the civil servants, the people who really do the work. And that is one of the reasons why I want to put the salary of everybody who serve government on the internet, so that people can also see the disparity between the salaries of the civil servants and those the politicians and who serve in the legislature and the House and the executive. Because Liberia's problem is not that we are a poor country, we are naturally rich. But on election day, we elect people who don't know what to do. and who don't love the country, and they're so greedy. So we experience poverty because of the choices that we make on election day. That's what I know. We have a rich soil, then the soil has diamond, gold, iron ore, manganese. We were even producing, we had a glass factory in the 80s on a Doe that was run by a Libyan company. And the silicon was taken right there in Gardensville. So Liberia is a naturally rich country, but we have not been able to lead, to manage the natural resources in such a way that Liberians will have maximum benefit out of what God has given us.
George Weah calls himself bad road medicine, and you disagree. Are you jealous of George Weah?
No, the bar road medicine is for the road in Doe community and the roads to the big shots homes on the Robertsfield Highway. When you go on the Robertsfield Highway, the road to Natana McGay House, former minister, the road to President George Weah House and the former VP House, the road to the Paul West Minister House, the road to the President Pro Tem House, and the road to Senator Jim Banning House are the roads that that the barrow medicine has worked on, but not the roads in most parts of Nimba in the rural area, because going to Butuo and Blole and Gaple, all those areas, we caught hard time. Like the vehicles I carry were breaking down because the roads were bad. I'm not even talking about Lofa. To leave from Zosa to Vanjaman, two of our cars got wrecked on the road. You know, southeastern Liberia is the worst case from Tapata all the way to Fishtown. And then when you leave Fishtown, you leave Plibo and you get on the Grand Cru Road. Again, you start experiencing bad road. Boajiken, Philadelphia, even the road to Sastan, the president home, is like somebody's farm road. And not a rich man's farm road now, one poor man's farm road, because our car kept breaking down on the road to Sastan as well. So in southeastern Liberia, many parts of the country, they tell you it is a lie. We have not experienced the barrow medicine working here. You know, there's complete negligence of duty when it comes to the rural parts of Liberia. And I can speak with a high degree of credibility because I've been there. And I confirm everything the United States ambassador said about the situation in the rest of Liberia. The complete ignorance, negligence of duty by the elites that sit in Monrovia.
Politics is not cheap, Council, and these elections are very crucial. I refer to it as the poor man's lawyer. Uh, During these elections, you need poll watchers, and you are also named to a campaign. Liberians are noted for asking people to do something, but in the absence of money, you can't really function. Where do you stand when it comes to finances?
You know, that's where everybody who is in this process overlooked me. They say, oh, Councilor Gongle is not going anywhere. But by the grace of God, my good name has made people to assist me wherever I don't have money in my pocket, but good name is better than silver and gold. Look, I got stock in, I think Feasible was also somewhere there. And I just called one friend in America. He said, I see you struggling because everything I was doing was light. He sent me $2,000. We bought 2 motorcycles right there in Zozo. And he said, so that you can make your way everywhere I've gotten stuff, whether for gasoline or everything. I get friends that call that say, you know, I'm sending you 1,000, I'm sending you 2,000, I'm sending you 3,000. And I've been able to do, at least up to this point, what I needed to do. The next thing will be campaigning, and it will be in limited parts. I'll be campaigning more on radio, because I can tell you, nobody will cover even 100 towns during this campaign season, because they were not smart enough to go around during the dry season. And even the dry season was challenging to go around. Now the rain has started, so nobody can go. That is why the speaker passed through Ivory Coast to go register in Plibo, because if he had gone on the road, he would have taken 2 weeks to reach Plibo, and he would not have registered, and he would have lost his seat, because he would not have been qualified to vote, and to even vote for himself. That is the condition throughout the country. But and so I will now be, since I've already gone, the people have seen me, I'll be speaking to the community radios in all of the counties. And I'll be campaigning more in Margibi, Bond County, Grand Bassa, Nimba, and Moserado, maybe Bombing County, those areas that are easily accessible even during the rainy season.
Well, let me go to the guys, and then after this round, then we'll take a few calls from our viewers out there. Joel Dennett.
I have a comment for Pastor, actually. I notice how he's trying to tie Councillor Gongolo to Ellen, when in fact, you have Joseph Boyka, who was a co-conspirator. He was an accomplice to the murder of the Liberian economy for 12 years. How dare you? How dare you not recognize that? Councillor, I've been listening to you about your plan. I think some of it makes sense. Definitely, we need to rein in corruption in Liberia. I personally hope your 12-point plan includes a military tribunal and a firing squad. But let me say this. I think being a president in Liberia, just the president alone can't solve these problems. You have and you spoke on that, you have a very corrupt legislature and even a Supreme Court. How do you plan to rein these people in? Because, if you come in and they tie your hands, how do you plan to rein in these people? Because together, they're more powerful than you.
Well, let me tell you, Liberia, in my view, is easy to govern. Why do I say so? The people follow their leaders in Liberia, even without law. When Tubman was wearing tailcoat, everybody was wearing tailcoat. Everybody was living big life. When Tubman came and started wearing short sleeve, everybody started wearing it. When he started going to work on time, people started going to work on time. When Ellen came and started wearing Lapa suits, everybody started wearing. George is wearing Nigerian suit, the corporal post suit. Everybody's wearing it except for a few people. So I think, when somebody like me, who is easily predictable, what I am precedes me. People know I'm a no-nonsense man when it comes to governance, and will use the law to prosecute people. Even in the judiciary, people can be impeached.
But
people can be impeached. Look,
but
it is only the lack of political will, my brother.
Yeah, Counselor. This law has been changed to legalize corruption in Liberia, and you know it. So it is not. We have the laws. We have the laws, but you have lawmaker and the president conspiring to change the law, as was reported by the ambassador. So I hear you saying you're going to lead by example. I hear that, but the other president that you spoke about, President Talbert, he did not make it. Doe didn't make it. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news here. I think it's a little bit naive to say that these people will just change because there's a president that's doing something different.
Joel, you need few examples. There should be consequences. And if you set few examples, people will begin to change. Look, I've asked in the interior, you think if 5 ministers are in jail and all of their properties are confiscated through the law because they stole money and they are in jail for 10 years each because of the magnitude of the theft, you think any other minister will want to steal? The answer in the over 300 times I've been to has been a resounding no. You think anybody who wants to steal will want to work in a Gonglo government? If you set example on just 5 ministers, the answer is no. And I usually say that's how we clean corruption. There has to be consequences.
Yeah, we have a very and I hate to say it, but the jury in Liberia is not very competent. The jury system is not very competent. They easily can be corrupt. And even if some minister goes to jail, there is no guarantee that he's going to spend time there, because the Supreme Court itself can be bought. So these are all the things that worries me about, your plan. Like I said earlier, I hope, quite frankly, you include a military tribunal, stop wasting taxpayer money, and go straight to firing squad. But I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I will never get to military tribunal. That is true.
Dr. Fish?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I just want to piggyback on the question that Ashford asked Councillor Gonglo that he did not answer. He asked you a very specific question: where are you going to get money from to do all of the things that you mentioned? You have to fix hospital. You have to. Are you going to go be like George Weah, jump in a plane and go around begging? Are you going to be like, oh, if we don't have investor in Liberia, we can't do anything? So then you go and look for investors who, by and large, all of them are focused on the extractive industries. You have Liberian farmers, and you talk about mechanized farming. If you set up factories rather than get machines, and you are able to buy the bushels of rice, just rice alone, if you do the calculation and you say, okay, let's harness rice in Liberia and sell it for $20 a bag, and let's say a family is buying like 2 bags a month, over a year period, you're looking at somewhere like $450. And if you multiply that by at least a population of 2 million, even though Liberia is 5 million, but you're looking at the population that's capable of purchasing, that's close to $1 billion. But yet you push that aside and say that's not necessary. Meanwhile, a president is supposed to be able to walk and chew gum at this time. At the same time, you can get a justice minister who can pursue those justice issues that you are concerned about. But the major problem is jobs, in a way that builds the Liberian currency, that makes the nation self-sufficient, and you don't seem to have conceptualized that, which is my major concern. Because, like yourself, other people have come on this platform and de-emphasized job. Meanwhile, you have a nation that is over 50% unemployed. I don't understand how all of you people come and seem to sing from the same hymn, not being sensitive to the fact that because of joblessness, people will not be able to send their children to school. They will not be able to go to the hospital. Young girls will continue to be prostitutes and all those things. So all of those vices are addressed by jobs. You can get a justice minister to deal with those other issues. Help us understand, how do you get money to do those projects in the absence of trying to focus on the Liberian economy, to build the economy from the ground up? That was a question asked for us that you did not answer.
All right, Fisk. I think the difference between you and myself is I look at a global picture and you look at one way. You can create jobs even in chaos, where there's no rule of law, the code does not work. All of those things are taken together. I have an economic plan, for example, to create jobs by giving incentive to people who want to do value addition things in Liberia. Every 50 miles away from Monrovia, you get reduction in corporate tax. To the extent that if you are 300 miles away from Monrovia, you pay almost zero tax. But government tax base will be increased by the employment. If there are 500 people or 600 people employed by a particular company in Maryland or in Sino, those people earn their income. Government gets some of it through income tax. They pay tax. They pay rent to house owners, and then they also pay taxes to government.
Is it going to net us at least 500? Is it going to net us at least close to $1 billion?
You have to respect me.
Please, can he answer the question, please?
Not correct.
Okay.
Yeah. When you speak, I listen.
Okay.
Look, so we will do that. There will be an on any multiplier effect of that type of economic policy that decentralizes the economy from Monrovia to other parts of Liberia. The other aspect of that helps fighting crime after creating jobs, is the fact that there will be centers of employment all over the country that will slow down the massive rural urban migration. Today, everybody sees Monrovia as the place where you go, what do you call it, the Greenland, whatever. That's the place you go for making honey. So if you create centers all over, it has happened before in Liberia. When we had Lipsuko in Kepamos, a lot of Hapa was active. A lot of people left Monrovia to go work with Lipsuko. Lipsuko was a sugar producing company. Then we had Vampla in Greenville, Sino County. Greenville was a boiling city, and people are not just coming to Monrovia, people are leaving Monrovia to even, so there was a reversion in the migration trend with people leaving Monrovia. You have to do that and create employment centers all over the place. Even when government had LCADP, BCADP, and NTRDP in the agricultural sector, that created jobs. All right. So, all of those things are doable, but you cannot do it when you have a country where the law is not enforced. We have laws on everything. It's the lack of willingness to enforce the law or selective application of the law. I work in the legal sector as a lawyer. I've also worked in the economic sector.
Thank you, Counsel.
Labor is a factor of production. And I was labor.
So let me just ask my last question as I head out from studio, unfortunately. And it was a pleasure talking to you, by the way. So I've just mentioned to you that if you invest in agro industry, okay, and declare rice, for instance, as a national security issue, because we know what happened in 1980 as a result of rice, so that rice that Liberians eat is only grown in Liberia, you're going to do the decentralization that you're talking about, and then you're also going to boost the currency, and then you're also going to incentivize local farmers, and then you're also going to create factory jobs. Now we're talking thousands and thousands of jobs, and we're talking about an annual projection of close to $1 billion. Okay, but you've just rejected that. But I just want to ask this question as I leave. You are not running a political party, so to speak. You are running as an individual, an independent candidate, and I stand to be corrected. Help us understand how you intend to implement all of these laws when you're going to have so many opposition legislators. I say this to say because during my experience with Ellen, one of those things I know she had problems with, which is one of the reasons why you had a terrible escalation in the pay of legislators, which is one of her legacies today, is that when she initially became president, the Unity Party was actually a minority party in the national legislature. So help us understand how you intend to navigate all of these things when you will just be running as an individual wanting to be president and working with a by and large opposition legislature. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Yeah, but don't go. Don't go with wrong
I'm
information.
listening.
No,
I'm
don't go
listening.
don't go with wrong information. I'm not an independent candidate. I was elected last year as standard bearer of the Liberian People's Party. So I don't know
That's what I said.
why
That's what I
you
said. I stand to be corrected. I said I
so
stand to be corrected.
so
That's what I said.
absent that, you say I rejected. That is your opinion, but your points are well noted. I'm not going to argue with you. Thank you.
Okay, folks, we want to take our play now to the people, our viewers.
Oh no, not so quick until I respond to Joel, please. Not so quick.
Okay. Just before you respond, let me just announce.
What are you responding to me for? I'm not a guest on the
The
show.
number to call is 267-248-5295. 248-5295. Now come in, that is.
Well, Joel, you must have misunderstood the intention of my questions, which the counselor excellently answered. Stated clearly their crimes are not transferable, neither is guilt by association. So if guilt by association is not a good politics, but relationship is interesting international relations, when the U.S. government says something and the fact remains that Councilor Gongolo he's a man of great integrity, impeccable service to his people, serving the poor, and it's unquestionable integrity. So when he spoke in that light, answering the question, he made it very clear that those who are propagandizing that or propagating that Prince Johnson is killed by association with Jeremiah Kun is a flawed political effort to associate him with crimes that he has no association with or that of Mr. Johnson. Similarly with Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. So he brilliantly answered the question, in my opinion.
Thank you,
So
Dad.
that settles the political propaganda.
Thank you. Okay, now we want to take a short break and then we'll go to the telephone line.
G Grace. Hems vocal, Liberia number one vocal, Liberia number one, right? Okay.
The phrase, a new sheriff is in town, does not only belong to law enforcement. How about the introduction of Liberia's premier vodka, a quality and customized liquor for all occasions? Try the flavor of your choice. Hems Vodka, Hems Honey, Hems Bitter, and Hems Original Vodka. Hems Vodka has no hangover. That's why they say Papa drink Mama happy. Hems Vodka is sold in all stores, shops, supermarkets, and entertainment centers in Liberia. For wholesale, contact Hems Vodka at 0777 001114, 0777 000-979. We can also be reached via social media on Facebook and IG at Hems Vodka or www.hensvodka.com. In the United States, please contact Hems North America Incorporated at 610-543-9289, 484-888-1622, 484-755-8411. Hems Vodka is approved by the U.S. federal government. Hems Vodka brings out the real man in you.
I tell you, in my boy, in my blood, every time.
And that's where we're back. And folks, this is ASHFORD GARLEY Live on British Radio Africa. We want to go to the telephone line now. The number to call is 267-248-5295. Bet Donua Koman, welcome to the show.
Yeah, bro, Gade, how you doing? Big brother, how you doing? This is Bud Dino from Iowa. How you doing?
Fine. How are you, Bud Dino?
Okay, I have two questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Gomlo, in 2015 November, your brother and I, including other 6 Liberians and 7 millionaires from Iowa, the state of Iowa, we visited Liberia for them to do a machina farming. If I say your brother is Jeremiah Wapo, to do a machina farming in Liberia with 158 million US dollars, an extra 100 million equipment, and the equipment is now in China. We are waiting for a better government to come in Liberia. If you win as a president, what would be your plan and royalty to a Liberian citizens that want to bring an investor into the Republic of Liberia? That's number one. Number two, if you cannot make it to the presidency, or if you can't make it to the second round, who will you support as a opposition, one of the opposition leaders of our country? Thank you. That's my 2 questions. I want you to please answer it honestly to me, sir. Thank you, Mr. Gonglo and Councillor Gonglo. Let me put a councillor there.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, let me take this a Minnesota call. This is the last 4 digits of your number. This is 7242. Tell us your name, please.
Thank you, Mr. Garley. This is Elvis calling from Minnesota.
Okay, go ahead.
And I want to say hello to your panelists, but especially a warm welcome to the future president of Liberia, Mr. Gonglo. I just quickly want to say, Mr. Gonglo, I must appreciate you, and you've gained, even more respect for me by the way you're going about running for president. I think this is the real way for people in Liberia to actually run for the presidency, and I think you've done an excellent job of doing it. My one question to you would be, for me, as a son of Grand Jide, of course, you're a son of Nimba. we've had our differences in, between our different peoples. What would you do to reconcile our country, especially, those, it's not just between the two counties. There's other counties that fought each other, people from Lofa and so forth. What will you do to bring, unity back into the country and reconciliation in our country? And lastly, I just want to make a comment to Dr. Fish. I know he left the line.
Hey, Elvis,
But
please refer your question to the council. He has understood you, and thanks for calling. Hello, caller. Tell us your name. Tell us your name, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Garley, good afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Lucien calling from. Yeah, my name is Lucien Varney.
Listen to the phone, not the receiver, please. Go ahead with your question.
Sorry, let me turn the volume down. Okay. Yeah, my question to Councilor Gonglo has to do with corruption. Councilor Gonglo, if you ascend to presidency, you've been in government for a time, you work in the Ellen government, and Ellen government was one of the government in Liberia had corruption in her 12 years, and you were there. Well, if you opportunity to be president of Liberia, can you tell the Liberian people? Because most of the time I always see what broom in your hand. And understanding that broom cannot stop corruption in Liberia, but if you be elected by the Liberian people as president, how actually you'll be able to fight corruption in Liberia?
Thank you. Hello, caller, 740 number. Tell us your name. 704.
Hey, Ashley, what's up? This is Corey.
Welcome to the show. Ask your question, please. One question. Please listen to the phone, not the receiver. Go ahead.
All right. Is it? Can I go ahead?
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Councilor Gonglo, thank you very much for what you do. I watch you. My name is Brahim Kouri. I'm calling from Philadelphia right now, even though I live in Charlotte. I watched you today on Spoon TV, and you made mention of something that caught my attention. When you mentioned about Liberians in the United States coming to Liberia to work in government, and when they get their salaries or when they have money, they send the money back to the United States to pay their mortgages. Now, my question to you is, are you saying that in your government, you are not going to employ any Liberian that live in the diaspora to come home to work in your government, even though they're going to be leaving their family up here to work earn earnest money? And if they send that money to Liberia, to the United States, back to the family, is it wrong?
Thank you.
I just want to say this. You're in America right now, and we send money back to Liberia every day.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll go back in studio with the council as he responds.
Okay. So let me start from I think you got the last question. No, Liberians have a right to go to work in Liberia and to send money back to their families here. I am saying the reason we have dual currency, that, and not one currency, it was, I think, because of that. I would speculate on that. But Liberians have a right to work in Liberia and send money back home. Although, for example, the central bank control foreign currency, and if you wanted something like that, you'll go there, and then through the central bank, the money will be sent here. It helped to control even the foreign exchange rate. All right, because we're talking about the exchange rate. How when there's inflation in the US dollar, and then there's inflation in the Liberian dollar, there's double inflation, and the ordinary Liberian people suffer. So all over, in most parts of Africa, people have one currency. It's easy to deal with that. No, I'm not against. I will employ. Liberians have a right to work. There are many Liberians who are even helping me in this process. I would say that Liberians will not be employed. We're talking about the issue of inflation in Liberia. I hope you understand that, and that people have a right. It's just the idea of people putting US dollar and walking away from Liberia within and all that. We need to have properly regulated. That's all I'm saying. People have a right to work in Liberia. They have a right to send money back home, back to their families. On the issue, somebody say I worked with Ellen for 12 years. That's not true. I worked for 5 years. In the 5th year of President Salif's government, I resigned from the government. And so for the rest of the 7 years, I was not there. That's not true. What will I do to fight corruption? I have a 12-count prescription for combating corruption. Some people just come and say corruption will be public enemy number one without any clear prescription on combating corruption. And I'll begin with having first asset declaration published from the president to all of the appointed officials, the salaries and benefits of all the people in the 3 branches of government published on the internet for everybody to know. Then I'll have something called lifestyle audit, quarterly lifestyle audit every 3 months. An auditor will audit the president's lifestyle and the lifestyle of all the ministers in government. And when it is seen that the report shows that your expenditure exceeds your income, you have to explain. If you can't explain, President Gongo will dismiss you and turn you over to the Liberian Anti-Corruption Commission for full investigation. But even before that, if you start building an expensive building in your community in 2 or 3 months being in government and is not consistent with the income you're earning, you'll be dismissed and sent over to the Liberian Anti-Corruption Commission for investigation and prosecution. And when at least 5 persons are prosecuted and they're in jail for 5 to 10 years, the others will advise themselves not to be corrupt. The government is a place to serve, not to steal. Then somebody said, what will you do to reconcile the country? I'm already reconciling the country. Can you imagine? I'm a politician from Limba, and I went and slept in Tuzon. I slept in Tuzon. And the people were so happy into that the home of the late Samuel Doe. They asked me to sleep there when I entered that night, and I slept there with my delegation. They cooked. By 11 o'clock, food was ready. People ate food left over, and they danced the whole night. They were very happy. Then I slept I went to Pinestown in Sino County. That's the home of Thomas Wessien. When I went to Lofa as a manor president from Nimba, I slept in Bakedu. It's a Madingo town in Lofa County. I did these kinds of things deliberately. I went to Kuopas town, Zozuale, to lift the spirit up. So I'm already involved in the issue in the issue of reconciliation, and on the issue of reconciliation and on the issue of uniting our country. That's what I'm doing. I'm going all over. So that is something that I've started doing in the campaign process and will continue. Somebody said to give royalty to Liberian investors, Liberians who bring investors in the country. I don't know about that. That has to be studied. There will be one condition for all investors coming into the country, and if you bring investors in the country, that's your own venture. You might have percentage out of it. You might form a corporation. You probably might have share, all of that. So that's something else to do. But we're not going to be giving royalty for someone who brings investor in the country. Probably need to understand that more. I think that these are the questions.
Thank you, Council. When you first joined the race, you were accused of not being a very great communicator. You don't answer emails, you don't return phone calls, and as president of the nation, you should be ready on day one to pick up the tasks and challenges of your country. Number one. Number two, tell us about the reception from the various towns and villages you visited. What are the people saying? What were their response to you?
So let me that question has been asked on the 3 media platform that I appear on before yours.
This is the brief.
The people were, so it's a great question. The people were very receptive. The first thing they told me, even as close as Orange Grove is to Monrovia, when I slept there on December 24th, they told me, you are the first politician to sleep here. Not even Grand Bassa politicians have slept here. They always pass and go to Grand Bassa. And then they said, this recognition. They say you are the first presidential aspirant that we've seen coming here. That's what I was told in Little Baza. That's what I was told in Idana. That's what I was told all over the country. They were very happy. They consider my going to the towns and villages as recognition and making them feel equal Liberians. Like Liberians are not the only people living in Monrovia and in the county capitals of the 15 counties. I went beyond places that even representative candidates have not been to before. I was told. I went there. And they were very, very happy that I did so. And then when I told them a message of transformation, that I want to be a project manager of a changing Liberia story from bad to better, because I strongly believe a better Liberia is possible. They were extremely happy. Many of them said they were not going to register to vote, but because of the things I told them, they will now register to vote. That's what I heard everywhere, including Southtown, the president's home. Now, the question of answering phones. Sometimes, I've tested people here. I call them, they don't answer them. I say, oh, you can say, I can't answer a question in Liberia. Yeah. I've called you 2-3 times. But in Liberia is a different situation. I sit here, I'm calling on WhatsApp. People in Liberia, they turn, because of the economic condition, they turn on their data to make WhatsApp call. After they finish with that call, they turn off the data. So often when you're calling in Liberia on WhatsApp, you will not get people because the data is not on. Sometimes the data is on, but the different phone companies in Liberia, they can be zigzag up and down with their internet service, And even in Monrovia, we have tried where somebody is standing right by you, and you call the person, and the phone will not even ring. So we have problem with the phone services that I have. The other thing is that I go out of town often, and there are many places in Liberia where there's no connection. You go there, maybe there's only Lone Star in one area. Another area you go only Orange. So we have that kind of situation in Liberia, and going around, I say, okay, when I become president, one of the things we'll do is, if you're a GSM company, you must be able to reach all over Liberia, because communication is very good for governance and for social economic development, for doing business and all of that. You get to some parts, there's no way you can communicate, So that's a major problem. But what I've started doing is, every 3 hours, I check all the missed calls and I start calling back. Even here, I'm calling back to Monrovia when I get missed call. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, I'm done with my question, and I will go back to Idatus and Joel. Then the council will give us his closing statement. Idatus,
I have to go to a program.
I know. So
there's a meet and greet tonight.
They were asked.
I'll be very short, Councillor. I'll be very short.
Yeah.
So let me say thank you, Councillor, for your volunteer services at the James A.A. Pier and the Liberian Police Academy, for helping to teach them criminal law, constitutional law, and procedural law. And thanks for being an assistant professor at the University of Liberia. I think your impeccable service to our nation, it deserves recognition now in this public matter. So thank you. Having said that, we have a government that I would like you to rate in the context of corruption too. The discrepancy currently in the BVR, where discrepancies around the census, the voter registration, and also the fact that lawmaker Yeke Koluba is complaining that the government is withholding his salary by giving him a check that bounced. And you being a poor man's lawyer, are you willing to support him in that direction? And what is your stance on this current government's corruption and the abuse of state resources? As a human rights lawyer, a constitutional lawyer, and certainly a volunteer.
I think you should not even handle the thing piecemeal. The total performance of this government does not pass 50%. It does not pass 50%. So we don't need to go sector by sector. It just, to even pick some means that they are doing well in other areas. Poor performance in the governance of this country. Yeke Koluba have given legal assistance in many instances by providing some of the junior lawyers for him. I've not appeared in court, but I've been involved in many of the cases that he has won against the legislature. But you see, lawyers don't go looking for cases. So it's against our ethics. People come to you. That's why in Liberia, unlike America here, where you can advertise regarding our code that you can't even advertise. Maybe we need to change that in the future so you don't go running. Because they say you don't steer litigation is a violation for which you could be suspended or disbarred from the practice of law. So we are very careful how we deal with cases.
So
Okay.
on the issue of the BVR, when the discrepancies in the census,
On the
the shame
census, I don't know whether the report is out yet. There were preliminary reports, and I think 7 or 8 political parties got together. We issued statement, I signed a statement with Joe Barker and others that the census results should not be used for this election because we didn't believe that it was properly conducted. On the BVR, I was coming here and the report came out. My party is looking at everyone, the political parties together to handle that issue. These are issues that the political parties can cooperate on because it affects the integrity of the electoral process.
Joel
Thank you, sir.
Dennis, Joel Dennis, your final question. Then we'll have his closing statement as he plans to head for a very important program tonight.
Yeah, Counselor, again, thank you for joining us tonight. I have a statement and maybe it's a short question. I just want to go back to this whole thing with Dr. Fisk when he mentioned about job. And as I'm listening, I agree with you 100%. I mean, in order for there to be investor confidence, there needs to be rule of law. Okay, there needs to be political stability. Nobody in the right mind would just take $100 million and go to a Liberia where they're not even sure they're going to get their money back out. So those things are very important in terms of creating good jobs, not just turning Liberia into somebody big farm and saying, oh, here's a job. Because I mean, in actuality, today there's lots of jobs in Liberia. Tons of people are doing keke and all kind of other things. Those are jobs.
Yep.
However you want to deal with that, those are jobs. I don't think if you ask the average person, even here in America, would you leave your job today to go drive keke in Liberia? Nobody will say that. But if you ask somebody to go invest in Liberia, the first thing will say, my man, that country corrupt. I don't want to go there. Nobody's stealing my money. I can't really invest. It's not fair. So those are the things that absolutely needs to be handled before somebody, take their hard-earned investment capital and go put it into Liberia. So that's what I want to say. The only other question that I really have outside of you haven't made a VP pick yet is, I think I want to know what and you don't have to make it a long thing because I mean nobody really talks about the most important non-voting bloc in Liberia. I mean the people who really make or break the Liberian economy. How is your relationship with the Lebanese in Liberia, the Lebanese business people?
Well, I can, I work at Ministry of Labor. I deal with Lebanese people. But I mean, I don't have any bad relationship, but I don't have any special relationship with the Lebanese community. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Counsel. With that said, we want to say a big thanks for coming in tonight, as always, at a very short notice. So please give us your parting statement.
Well, I just want to say one of the things that I've said, I didn't say tonight, is I want to be a Liberian president that will create millionaires outside government and not inside government. Today, the millionaires are created inside government. For example, in Liberia, you'll be surprised that most of the privately owned universities outside the missionary universities are owned by lawmakers. How they got the money? And other people. So I want a situation where government is the biggest customer in any economy. Government will purchase from Liberian businessmen and women and make them millionaires. Government will give contracts to Liberians first before they will give it to other people so that Liberians can feel a preferential treatment by the government. It happens in America, it happens in Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, everywhere. Here in America, they will tell you only American companies apply for this particular contract. Only American citizens apply. It is something that all citizens expect from the government to be higher in government's consideration than non-citizens. I want to bring that feeling to Liberia so that Liberians can feel special compared to all other residents in Liberia.
Thank you, Council. Enjoy your
Thank
stay
you very much.
in the United States of America, and I'll probably catch up with you tomorrow night at the program.
Thank you very much. And all of you are welcome to the program as well.
Okay, Council.
Especially,
Thank you. Thank you.
and Reverend, I didn't need to come so we can have some more conversation. It looks like we need to have a lot of conversation, including that of Fisk.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead. Well, gentlemen, time has caught up with us again. But what were your own impression with the concert tonight, Idatus?
Well, certainly the council has an impeccable, reputation, integrity, full man's lawyer, volunteering services, currently now an assistant professor at the University of Liberia, teaching constitutional law, human rights law, as well as the James A. Peer, Institute at the Supreme Court, and teaching the police academy. So I think he has an impeccable, indefatigable service to his nation and his people. He was brilliantly able to make it clear that those who are using crimes that are transferable or not transferable, he's aptly and legally debunked that you can't transfer a crime from one end to another. He also brilliantly stated he doesn't believe in guilt by association. And so that was the dichotomy I was trying to draw, when in fact, he made that clear for those who are propagating the misrepresentation of the association between the institution versus the personality and the relationship between individuals. And he made that very clear that, those who are preaching that politics would make sense, as he debunked also the idea that the fact that he's serving Madam Sirleaf's government does not mean that he supported the war. He's a great gentleman. I think this interview was great. And I think he kind of sold himself for the understanding of the Liberian people.
Joel, you are very strong tonight, coming out to say something that happened back in the day, and I think a lot of people frown on that. You're talking about reintroducing the firing squad, the military tribunal. I mean, come on, man.
Look, let's get one thing straight here. The fact that Liberia is masquerading as a country that has a democracy is a fallacy. Okay, we are still. If you were to put somebody to sleep back in the early 1800s and you wake them up today in Liberia, they would still think, with the exception of some of the footpaths that they have wasted quota over, that they were still in 1821. Not much has changed about Liberia. Not much has changed about Liberians. The issue I was talking about, military tribunal. Listen, obviously I'm kidding, but there needs to be some strong consequences, some unbending consequences for people who steal government resources. Because if you think about it, if somebody pilfers $1 million here and there, steal gas slip here and there is a child that will not eat. There is a child that may even die from hunger. Is that not the same kind of death? I mean, just because you don't see gunfires in Liberia doesn't mean there is peace. The fact that somebody's driving around in very expensive cars in Liberia, $100,000 cars, when little children can't eat at night. When a child go to school and he's hungry, and I've experienced this, and he's hungry, the growl from your stomach is louder than your thoughts. How can you study when you're hungry? So yes, I may be kidding about the firing squad, but let's face it, there needs to be strong consequences, okay? And one thing Councilor said tonight that just kind of sealed the deal for me, even though I don't believe he's going to win, he's just not, he's not a strong enough a candidate. But that last question I asked him was very important. What is your relationship with the Lebanese community? Because we know the Lebanese community tend to corrupt our political leaders. He said he has none. That's good for me, because then I know he's not starting off as a very corrupt human being. So I was impressed with the counselor. I know he's not going to win, and I do hope he he joins an opposition ticket when, if they ask him. I hope he doesn't sit on his hands, and maybe they may make him the justice minister, whoever becomes president. I will support that, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, in the next week or so and a half to come, Henry Costa plans to break his silence. What do we hold to hear from him just before we uh, come into your closing argument? Idatu said it. Let me begin with Joel first. What do we hope to hear from Costa?
I hope Costa needs to, calm down. Okay, he tends to be very temperamental. But what I would like to see the opposition do is unite, not throw bullets at each other. Don't tear each other up so much that this whole ticket become incapable of coming together to win an election. I hope to hear more of a conciliatory tune from Mr. Costa, and I do believe Costa has a future in Liberia, but he does need to bring his temperament. He needs to bring it down a little bit, bring it down a notch. This position that he was hoping for, it's not an unearned privilege. It is a privilege, and he has to earn it. I don't believe personally he has earned that privilege yet, and just giving him an unearned privilege, at this stage in his career, I think it's the VP, the former VP, was right to pick who he picked. But I would like for him to bring it down a notch, come back together, and let's remove George Weah from government.
Idatu added, what do we hope to hear from your partisan, Henry Costa? I mean, Costa was on his platform. He went very hard on Alexander Cummings when Cummings was in the news associating with former operators of Charles Taylor, the Louis Brown, the Donald Chair, and Gilway McIntosh. And Costa presented to us Joseph Yuma Boyka as somebody who is not corrupt, somebody who is ready from day one to lead this country, to change this country. Now, the same boycott is now in bed with people who are believed to be corrupt, people who are known to be former warlords, the Prince Johnson. Joseph Yuma Boyka now that is associating with Ellis Tyler, who was once known as Corruption King Kong. He's now going as senator for Bowman County under the banner of the Unity Party. Edwin Snow, who publicly said Joseph Yuma Boyka is a tribalist. Joseph Yuma Boyka said all kinds of derogatory things about him. Now, they are all in bed with Boyka, and Boyka is associating himself with these people. How does Henry Costa come now to support this candidate?
Well, you asked me, what do I hope to hear? Like Joel, I certainly hope to hear a continuity of support for the ambassador. I certainly hope to hear that in spite of all that has happened, opposition unity between the ALP and the rest of the coalition members are intact. So that's my hope. That's my sense of optimism, as I'm optimistic that if nobody wins 50+1 in the first round, that opposition will unite. So that's my hope, that his coming up will be one of reconciliation. Let's continue the vision in spite of. As far as, the ambassador being in bed with people, the ambassador has always been the man of reconciliation. I recall vividly the last time when Jefferson Koji was being honored for his efforts in Lofa County. The ambassador was there giving him an award on the request of the people of Lofa. So he's always been a man of reconciliation. His umbrella tent is highly big and is willing to work with people who are willing to embrace the vision that is much, by far and large, foundational on the rule of law. So you may have been corrupt in the previous government, but you are a Liberian under the Joseph Boyka government. Be very careful. So if it is a political opportunity to find yourself in association with this vision and think that you might abuse it as in the past government, then it's a clear mistake. But as Liberians, they have the right to affiliate with whomever. Nobody has been appointed to any position yet. But if they come and want to support as Liberians, Honorable Boyka, as well as Mr. Cummings, will certainly welcome all of these people. Liberia is a very small political culture. You know, as much as we who are the quote unquote surrogates like to get so mad at one another and insult one another, you don't hear the surrogates. You don't hear the political aspirants insulting each other. Today, Councillor Gonglo was on Spoon TV and he made it very clear that by and large they are united for war crimes court. All of them. When you listen to their platforms, they are all saying the same things in different ways. So quite frankly, they're looking to a wholesome functioning opposition that is reconciled and able to remove the incumbent government of President George Weah.
Well, thank you, folks. And that's how we go home tonight. God willing, we'll be back on Monday night, same time, same place. Until then, we're asked Pastor Ada to take us home in the word of prayer.
Amen. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you all and give you peace. Surely goodness and mercy shall dwell in your hearts upon you as you travel by and large along the byways and the highways. We pray, God, that Liberia will be a nation that we can once again believe that we can return and live in a state of security, peace, peaceful coexistence, and above all, love. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you.
God bless Liberia and God bless the people of Liberia. This has been yours truly, ASHFORD the Giant Garlet. Have a great weekend and happy Mother's Day to all of our beautiful mothers out there.